Amaka Okoro stepped into Aurelia's bridal boutique on Victoria Island with a butterfly in her stomach and her mother's phone pressed against her ear. The boutique's floor-to-ceiling mirrors reflected rows of ivory gowns, glass chandeliers tossing prisms of light across satin and lace. "Yes, Mama," Amaka murmured, pausing to smooth a wrinkle in her simple white blouse. "I know this is your happiest day too. I'll send you a picture as soon as I slip into that dress." Her mother's soft, "I love you, darling," crackled through the speaker before the call ended. Her sister, Tonia, was already waiting by the fitting room, the delicate seamstress's pins glinting in her dark curls. When Amaka rounded the corner, Tonia turned slowly, pale champagne gown cascading around her. "Does this make me look grand?" Tonia's voice was low, almost reverent. Amaka offered a practiced smile. "You look beautiful," she said, though her heart thrummed as she noticed the way Tonia's eyes lingered on her own reflection, as if each curve and pleat was a prize. As the seamstress fussed over a loose hem, Amaka's fiancé, Nonso, arrived, his tailored shirt crisp against the boutique's gentle warmth. He swept in with a grin, planting a quick kiss on Amaka's cheek. "Ready to turn heads?" he asked, voice light. Amaka nodded, but even as she held Tonia's hand and led her out for a twirl, she caught a flash of something in her sister's eyes. Pride? Envy? The seamstress stepped forward, whispering, "Try the second veil, please." Tonia slipped it on, and in that moment, she looked more like the bride than Amaka ever dared to feel. Uche, Amaka's childhood best friend and bridesmaid, drifted over with a glass of sparkling wine. "You two are stunning," she said, raising an eyebrow at Tonia's smug expression. "Amaka, you better watch out. She's got that look women get when they know they've stolen the show." Amaka laughed it off, but the laugh tasted bitter. She turned back to the mirror just in time to see Tonia's reflection linger on Amaka's ring finger. A silent flicker passed between them. Nonso draped an arm around Amaka's waist. "I can't wait to see you walk down the aisle," he whispered, leaning close enough that Amaka felt the warmth of his breath. She closed her eyes, picturing that day. Ivory roses, family gathered, Tonia smiling in the front row. But when she opened them again, she saw Tonia's lips twitch into a private smile, one Amaka didn't understand. "Let's get a picture," she suggested, pulling out her phone. As they posed, Nonso kissed Amaka's temple, but the photo revealed Tonia's gaze on Nonso, a ghost of longing in her dark eyes. The seamstress cleared her throat. "Amaka, would you step in, dear?" As Amaka slipped into her own gown, beaded bust, flowing skirt, the boutique grew impossibly silent. She caught a glimpse of herself in the largest mirror, radiant, poised, ready. But at the edge of the frame, Tonia stood too close, her hand brushing an errant strand of Amaka's hair, her eyes distant. When Amaka turned fully, Tonia found her gaze and gave a small, secretive nod. Amaka forced a smile as Tonia spun yet again, admiring her reflection with a confidence that eclipsed Amaka's own. And as Tonia turned, admiring her reflection with a confidence that eclipsed Amaka's own, a sharp pang of betrayal cut through Amaka's chest, foreshadowing the unraveling of everything she thought she knew. Monday morning, 5 days before the wedding. Amaka sat at her vanity, the ivory box open but painfully empty. Her left hand felt bare. The engagement ring, a custom-cut emerald set in white gold, now vanished from its velvet cushion. She lifted the box to the golden afternoon light streaming through her apartment window, hoping for a reflection or a hidden corner where the ring might have slipped. There was nothing. She tapped Nonso's name on her phone. It rang twice, then darted to voicemail. "Nonso, where are you?" Her voice cracked. "The ring is gone. Please call me." She hung up, heart pounding. Across the table, a single white rose wilted in a slender vase, as though mourning what had been lost. Panicked, Amaka dashed through the flat, retracing yesterday's steps. The makeup artist's kit, the special hanger marked Amaka Bridal, the small shoebox with Tonia's bridesmaid shoes. Nothing. Fear knotted in her stomach as the doorbell rang. Uche. She flung the door open. "Have you seen my ring, Uche? Did you borrow it?" Uche's eyes went wide. "Amaka, I haven't touched it. I was helping Tonia pack her things last night. She didn't mention anything. Are you sure it's not in the boutique? Maybe you left it there? Amaka shook her head, panic radiating through her limbs. I double-checked. It's not there. She sank onto the couch. And Nonso isn't answering. His phone goes straight to voicemail. Uche bit her lip. Perhaps he's stuck in traffic? Or... She trailed off, worry creasing her brow. The next hours blurred. Amaka called the boutique, her family, the jeweler. No one had seen the ring. Every unanswered call to Nonso felt like another nail in her coffin. Her mother's texts became frantic. Where are you? Is everything okay? But her replies faltered in her throat. By dusk, she found herself dialing Tonia. I need to see you, she whispered. Tonia's cold voice on the other end made her heart sink. Amaka, I'm busy. The bridal shower arrangements are chaotic. Check your voicemail. Nonso left you a message. Amaka checked immediately, but there was nothing new. That night, Amaka lay prostrate on her bed, the white satin sheets twisted around her. She stared at the ceiling, willing the ring to materialize on her finger. She imagined Nonso's face, worried, apologetic, rushing back from some delayed flight. But the silence promised only one truth. The ring was gone, and so was he. When her phone buzzed at midnight, she bolted upright. A WhatsApp message from an unknown number. Stop looking for him. No name. No explanation. Just those 4 words. Amaka's breath caught, and she stared at the message as if it were an acid burn. Someone knew where Nonso was, or didn't want her to find out. The line between fear and fury blurred in her chest. She typed back, "Who is this?" but got no answer. She realized then, this was no accident. It was the first move in a game she didn't understand, one where she was already losing. By sunrise, the story was already everywhere. A family WhatsApp group, created for bridal updates, erupted with a single post from Tonia. So happy to share that Tonia and Nonso are engaged. Ring's sparkling heart, beneath it lay a gallery of photos. Tonia beaming, Nonso down on one knee, a pristine beach sunset framing the moment. There was no mention of Amaka, no explanation. Just celebration. Amaka's chest tightened as notifications pinged. Congratulations, Tonia. What a surprise. Can't wait for the date. Give me details. With trembling fingers, she tapped the screen to respond, but her words froze. Wait, what? She texted. Silence. Tonia had disabled replies. The group chat had become an echo chamber, everyone lauding the imposter bride. Her younger cousin, Ifani, sent a private message. Ama, are you okay? Amaka stared at the green, beside his name. He saw her typing, No, I'm not. Then he called. She answered, voice strangled. Tonia and Nonso, just announced their engagement. In our group. I don't know what to do. He sighed. Ama, I'm so sorry. I'll drive over. But even as he spoke, she knew family loyalty would split their ranks. Some would side with Tonia, others with her, but public opinion had already been swayed. She exited the chat with a swipe. The screen shuttered, leaving her in empty digital space. Outside, Lagos traffic roared in the distance. The city moved on without her. She sank to the floor, back against the wall, and let tears come. Each drop felt like a page tearing out of her life story. Her phone buzzed again. This time, from her mother. Call me now. Amaka cradled the phone to her ear. Mama, she whispered. They announced it. They did this to me. Her mother's voice cracked with pain. Child, I don't understand. Nonso loved you. Why would he do this? Amaka closed her eyes, disbelief and rage fighting in her chest. I don't know, but this feels deliberate. Tonia, I think she wanted this. Her mother was silent a long moment, then said, You come home. We'll talk. But Amaka shook her head, even though Mama couldn't see. I can't face them. Not yet. She set the phone down, allergy to the truth growing like concrete in her throat. Outside her window, the sun climbed higher, indifferent to her devastation. Just before leaving her apartment, any attempt at normalcy impossible, she sat at her desk and typed one brief message in the bridal group. "I'm done. Don't contact me again." Then she logged off, stepping out into the glare of midday, her world reduced to fading white satin and shards of broken trust. Once the screen went dark, she realized that her world had collapsed in a single, callous click. Amaka found herself at her family's weekend luncheon, summoned by her mother's tearful plea. The banquet hall buzzed with polite chatter and clinking cutlery. Tonia sat at the head table, her engagement ring shining under the crystal chandeliers. Amaka stood at the entrance, the compartment with her lunch ticket trembling in her hand. Her Aunt Neko approached, cheeks flushed. "Amma, we're so worried," she scolded, voice tight. "Why would you call off your wedding? You don't know what you're doing." Amaka's throat tightened. "Auntie, she faltered as Neko laid a hand on her arm. "This is nonsense. Your sister took over, God's plan, we all agree. You should move on." Nearby, her cousin Ifani lowered his head, avoiding her gaze. Her mother sat, shoulders hunched, eyes rimmed with red. "Amaka, darling," Mama said. "Perhaps you two rush things. You've been at each other's throats for months." Amaka's pulse thundered. "Mama, this isn't about rushing. My ring is gone. Nonso is gone. And now he's engaged to Tonia." Gasps rippled through the table. Tonia's eyes flashed. "Amaka, calm down. You're embarrassing yourself." Her voice was silky, venom-coated. The guests exchanged awkward glances. "Every family has drama," Tonia said with false sweetness. "Let's move forward." Amaka felt the room spin. Conversations buzzed in her ears. "You're overreacting. Maybe you need time apart. Why make a big deal?" Gaslighting words wrapped around her like barbed wire. In that moment, she recognized the unspoken verdict. Amaka was the villain. She rose abruptly. Chairs scraped. The room fell silent. "Excuse me," she said, voice steely. "I'll see myself out." Mama reached for her hand. "Please don't go." But Amaka shook her off. "I have nothing left to do here." She swept past the stunned faces, her heart hammering in rebellion. As she passed the table where Tonia sat, ring glinting, smile fixed, Amaka heard one whispered remark. "Good riddance." Outside, the humid air hit her like a wave. Taxi horns blared, street vendors hawked goods. For the first time, she felt a rush of liberation beneath the pain. She no longer belonged to their story. She hailed a cab, climbed in, and watched the hall recede. And with that thought, she rose, leaving only the echo of her chair behind. A week later, Amaka found herself in a jeej, her savings dwindled to pay for a single room beneath a rusting corrugated rooftop. The flat was bare except for a second-hand mattress, a battered fan that threatened sparks, and a chipped wooden table. At dawn, she arranged thrift garments, a colorful Ankara blouse, a pair of ripped jeans, second-hand clutches, on a folding rack by her market stall. The air was thick with smoke from roadside grills, punctuated by the shouts of fish sellers. "Good morning, madam," greeted Mrs. Isosa, the neighboring stall owner. Dark-skinned and warm, Isosa offered Amaka a thermos of strong, sweet tea. "You look tired." Amaka mustered a tired smile. "Long week." She took a sip, the sugar jolting her awake. "New chapter," she said softly. Isosa nodded knowingly. "Lagos can break you, chilly, but it builds you stronger." By mid-morning, rain threatened, and suddenly the market plunged into darkness as the power cut off. The fan stuttered, and the fluorescent bulbs died. Panic fluttered among vendors. Perishable goods would spoil. Amaka knelt to plug in her old power bank, only to discover its battery was dead too. She bit her lip as customers drifted away. Footsteps approached. A voice, soft but steady, said, "Need some help?" Amaka looked up to see a tall stranger holding a gleaming power bank. His dark-skinned face was framed by neat dreadlocks, his eyes kind behind horn-rimmed glasses. "You're Mrs. Okoro, right? From Lagos Tech." It took her a moment to place him. Olisa, the quiet nerd she'd met years ago at a hackathon she never bothered to attend. Amaka hesitated, pride warring with desperation. Then she nodded. Yes, she whispered. Olisa plugged his power bank into her lamp and fan. Lights flickered back to life. He grinned. Thought you might need a boost. Before she could reply, the world felt oddly lighter, her clothes no longer burdened with yesterday's grief. The fan's hum seemed to chase away the weight on her shoulders. Thank you, she said, voice firm but gentle. I'm Amaka. He offered his hand. Olisa, I've been looking for you. As the rain began, washing the city's grime clean, Amaka realized that rock bottom wasn't the end. It was the ground on which she could build anew. Tomorrow, under the tin roof stalls and flickering streetlights, something unexpected would spark a new beginning. Amaka just didn't know it yet. By the time the rain began, Amaka's fingers were stiff with cold and frustration. The market's lights had flickered off, leaving the row of stalls in shadow. She crouched beside her folding table, fumbling to plug her phone into the dead power bank that refused to charge. Customers drifted away in the gloom, and her heart sank. A gentle voice cut through the hush. Need some help, miss? Amaka looked up to see a tall figure holding a sleek, fully charged power bank. His dreadlocks were damp from the drizzle, and horn-rimmed glasses glinted under a fading streetlight. You're Amaka Okora, right? I saw your online post about the fashion stall. She blinked in surprise. You read about me? He smiled warmly. I follow up-and-coming entrepreneurs. Name's Olisa Nwankwo, CTO at Helix Fintech. He crouched a hand over the power bank. Here, this should keep your phone and that lamp running. As the lights flickered back to life, Amaka felt more than relief. She offered him a shaky smile. Thank you, Olisa. I don't know how to repay you. He shrugged. Just promise me one thing. When you take over the world, remember the guy who kept your lights on. Thunder rumbled overhead as Amaka laughed for the first time in days. He scribbled his number on a scrap of notebook paper. Call me if you ever need a tech rescue. With that, he vanished into the downpour, leaving behind a spark of hope. Had she just met the person who would change her destiny? A week later, under the yellow glow of a corner cafe, Amaka stared at a blank laptop screen. Her thrift clothing business needed a digital storefront, but she had no idea where to start. Olisa slid into the seat across from her, laptop in hand. Let's turn your vision into a website, he said, voice steady as he plugged in a flash drive. He guided her through basic HTML, patiently explaining tags and classes, as if teaching a child to read. When Amaka's eyes glazed over, he nudged her gently. You're stronger than you think. Just tell me what you want each page to say. She described her brand's ethos, affordable style with Lagos flair, and watched his fingers dance across the keyboard. Hours later, he hit publish. Amaka's heart leapt as the site loaded on her phone. Sleek banner, vibrant product grid, simple checkout. She tapped a dress image. It expanded flawlessly. It's beautiful, she whispered. Olisa's grin widened. You did this. As the days passed, the site traffic climbed. Local bloggers tagged her Instagram. Orders trickled in. But it wasn't until a prominent fashion influencer reposted one of her Ankara blouses that the floodgates opened. Notifications pinged into the night. New customers, rave reviews, shipping requests. Standing amid the chaos of packaging labels and crumpled tissue paper, Amaka realized Olisa was more than a tech guy. He was the partner she never knew she needed, and someone who believed in her when no one else did. Could their collaboration become something more? 2 years later, under the neon glow of the Chic Bank headquarters, an imposing glass tower near Victoria Island, Amaka waited by the revolving door. Memories of cobblestone streets and rickety stalls felt worlds away. A trumpet fanfare echoed through the lobby's high ceilings. Olisa appeared, dressed in tailored trousers and a crisp shirt. In his hand was a small black box. His usual easy smile was tinged with nervous excitement. Remember the spot? He asked, guiding her toward a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the city. Amaka's pulse quickened. The building where I first met you. His expression softened. I wouldn't be here without you. He knelt, opening the box to reveal a stunning emerald ring, larger and more perfect than the one she'd once lost. Tears welled in Amaka's eyes as he spoke. Amaka Okoro, will you marry me? Her breath caught. Yes, she whispered, voice trembling. The lobby erupted into applause as employees emerged from behind glass partitions, smartphones raised. She slid the ring onto her finger, its emerald gleaming like new beginnings. As confetti rained, Amaka thought of her sister's betrayal, how far she'd come, from selling thrift in the rain to standing engaged again in the heart of Lagos's financial district. Had victory ever felt so sweet? Months later, Amaka and Olisa stood side by side on stage at Tech-Fashion Lagos, a conference uniting fintech and design. Behind them, a massive screen displayed the chic bank interface. Users could virtually try on clothes while managing microloans. The audience leaned forward as Olisa detailed the platform's architecture, arms animated with passion. When he handed the mic to Amaka, she spoke with a quiet confidence that filled the hall. We built this for women like me, resilient, resourceful, ready to rewrite their stories. Later, at a rooftop networking event, journalists clustered around them. Chic Bank is the hottest startup of the year. One declared as a TV crew filmed Amaka examining fabric pattern stock charts. Another reporter snapped photos of Olisa adjusting his tie. Together, they graced magazine covers under headlines like Fashion Meets Finance and Lagos's Power Duo. At gala dinners, they accepted awards, her for Innovative CEO, him for Tech Visionary. The world seemed eager to witness their rise. But as cameras flashed, Amaka kept one eye on the horizon, knowing that every triumph invited a new challenge. Would anyone dare stand in their way? Amaka returned home one afternoon to find an embossed ivory envelope on her coffee table. She turned it over. Tonia and Nonsos, third-year vow renewal celebration. Her chest tightened as she slid a finger beneath the flaps. Inside lay an invitation card in gold script. Please join us to commemorate our love. A polite RSVP line had been circled in glittering pen. Her gaze drifted to the wall, where she'd hung a photo of Olisa kneeling with that emerald ring. A storm of memories crashed through her own stolen ring, the public announcement, the final humiliations. And now, here was Tonia, inviting her back into the scene that broke her. She dialed Olisa, voice firm. We're going. He replied immediately, excitement in his tone. We'll make an entrance, they'll never forget. As she penned their RSVP, Amaka and Olisa Nwankwo, accepting with joy, Amaka felt the scales tilt. No longer the jilted sister, she was the architect of her destiny. How would the world react when the real power couple arrived? Amaka stepped onto the manicured lawn of the Renaissance Pavilion in a bespoke emerald green couture gown that caught every whisper of the evening breeze. The paparazzi's camera flashes created a strobing halo around her as she descended from the sleek silver Bentley, one hand poised on her hip and the other gently brushing her voluminous natural curls. Gasps rippled through the crowd of high society guests milling by the fountain. Is that Amaka Okoro? Murmured one influencer, phone already filming. Inside, Tonia's perfectly painted smile froze. She clutched Nonso's elbow, even as her eyes darted to Amaka's entrance. Across the marble foyer, bloggers scrambled to capture Amaka's triumphant stride. She offered a serene nod to well-wishers, her chin lifted high. In that single moment, the world saw not the jilted fiancé, but the queen reclaiming her throne, and the internet exploded. The grand hall fell into a stunned hush as Amaka glided to the head table, olive branches of ferns and fairy lights framing her like a modern-day icon. Tonia forced a polite applause, fingertips trembling on the stem of her champagne flute. Nonso, seated beside her, turned pale, his gaze fixed on Amaka's emerald ring catching the chandelier's light. Whispers trickled through the crowd. She looks unstoppable. Did you see her ring? What happened between them? Behind the gauzy curtains, Aunt Neka whispered for Tonia's attention. Remember, smile, she hissed, but Tonia's lips quivered with regret. Ifani shot Amaka an apologetic look from across the table, as though conceding his part in the betrayal. Outside, drones hovered to capture the moment from above, another viral clip in the making. Tonia realized this celebration wasn't hers anymore. Every camera, every cheer, belonged to Amaka. Amid the glittering tableaus of white roses and gold accents, Olisa rose and tapped his glass. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice warm and resonant. "I'm Olisa Nwankwo, her husband, her investor, and her biggest fan." Cameras pivoted, capturing his confident stance beside Amaka. She stood by his side, eyes shining with gratitude. For once, Tonia's meticulously crafted poise slipped, her throat tightened. The room erupted into applause. Social media feeds flooded with the news. Real power couple revealed at vow renewal. Bride's ex-fiancé introduces himself as groom. Tears and cheers at Lagos Gala. Speechless, Tonia watched as Amaka and Olisa shared a private smile, united in purpose. The narrative had flipped entirely, and every live stream, every tweet, cemented their triumph. Later, in the privacy of the women's powder room, Tonia stared at her reflection, mascara running from unshed tears. Amaka's entrance still echoed in her mind like an anthem. Through the door's frosted glass, she heard her mother's voice. "You're doing fine, dear." But the words rang hollow. She traced the diamond on her own ring, now feeling like a chain rather than a token of love. Outside, Nonso approached Amaka with a tentative smile, dropping to one knee again, this time an apology. "I've made mistakes," he murmured. Amaka placed a hand on his shoulder, but said nothing. The room's opulence, the glittering guests, the drone's distant buzz all felt like a dream she'd long outgrown. In that moment, Tonia understood. Her crown was fractured, and nothing could glue it back together. As dawn broke over Lagos, Nonso sat alone in the empty pavilion, replaying memories like a broken film reel. He saw Amaka's laughter when they first met, her unwavering support during his darkest days, the midnight budgeting sessions that built their future. Beside him, Tonia's boutique manager delivered the morning's news. Sales had plummeted, rent overdue. The boutique's neon sign flickered in warning. Nonso's heart twisted with regret. He had chased an illusion of glamour and nearly lost the woman who built him from nothing. With trembling hands, he dialed Amaka's number, but it went straight to voicemail. Outside, Amaka's new life with Olisa blossomed. Media requests, board meetings, invitations to speak at global summits. She had moved on. And in that silence, Nonso realized some choices are irreversible, and some regrets last a lifetime. Tonia retreats to the gilded powder room, heart pounding as she searches for answers, and finds Amaka leaning against the marble sink, cool and composed. The soft hum of the air conditioner is the only sound as Tonia's voice cracks. "You planned this, didn't you?" Amaka turns, offering only a calm smile. "You took my place," she replies softly. "So, I built a new table." Their heated exchange ricochets off the polished walls. Tonia accuses, Amaka deflects with quiet dignity. In that mirrored sanctuary, the sisters' rivalry crystallizes, one fueled by bitterness, the other by reinvention. As a final accusation hangs in the air, Amaka steps past her sister and out into the night, leaving Tonia to grapple with her own shattered ambition. What will Tonia do now that her secret is laid bare? A short clip from the vow renewal gala explodes across social platforms. Amaka's emerald entrance, Olisa's introduction, the stunned faces of Tonia and Nonso. Within hours, millions have watched, shared, and reshared. Hashtags like hashtag she took over the game and hashtag Emerald Queen trend worldwide. Notifications ping relentlessly on Amaka's phone, each alert a testament to her newfound influence. Meanwhile, Tonia watches the view count climb, her boutique's lights dimming with every new play. Commenters debate her motives, praise Amaka's resilience, and predict Tonia's downfall. As the world cheers for the underdog's triumph, Tonia realizes that in the age of virality, public opinion is the greatest power, and she's already lost the narrative battle. Can Tonia reclaim her story before the next wave of outrage washes it away? A towering digital billboard lights up at the city's busiest intersection, Amaka's face beside the chic bank logo, tagline, "Redefine your worth." Below, a second headline scrolls, 210,000 downloads in 24 hours. Traffic slows as motorists and pedestrians break their routines to snap photos, fueling another viral surge. Amaka watches from Olisa's armchair, pride and vindication warming her smile. Across town, Tonia arrives at her boutique only to find the neon sign flickering and a lock on the door. Rent unpaid. Creditors have moved in. The racks of designer dresses that once dazzled now gather dust through the grimy glass. In the hush of that empty space, Tonia confronts the price of taking shortcuts and wonders whether ambition without integrity can ever last. Will Tonia rise again from the ruins of her own making? Amaka steps onto the worn linoleum of her alma mater's assembly hall, greeted by applause from students who grew up knowing her only by legend. She passes a row of lockers and pauses at one etched with graffiti, most likely to fade. With a playful wink, she traces the letters before mounting the stage. Cameras roll as she begins, her voice steady. "I was taught my place was behind someone else's. Today, I choose to stand in mine." The crowd leans in, captivated by the woman who turned betrayal into a platform for empowerment. Interviews follow. Alumni confess they doubted her, teachers wipe away tears, and even Tonia's face flickers on a live feed, watching her sister rewrite history. As cheers swell, Amaka knows this moment cements her legacy, from fade to formidable. How will those who wrote her off respond to the queen she's become? Under the bright lights of a global TED stage, Amaka delivers her final line. "They replace me, but I replace the game." The audience rises in a standing ovation that shakes the hall's glass walls. Backstage, cameras capture Tonia's solitary figure in the lobby, eyes glistening with regret and awe. As confetti drifts through the air and reporters crowd around Amaka, she locks eyes with her sister one last time. No words pass between them. The game is over, and checkmate is stamped on the scoreboard. From the shadows, Tonia retreats, her place usurped, her lesson learned. And at center stage, Amaka basks in the triumph she architected, having turned every setback into her greatest victory. Is this the end, or merely the beginning of her reign? The end.